It's such a good time for every gamer, especially for those who are a fan of PvE games, because these past few years, there are lots of games that are undoubtedly great and beautiful. So in this video, I'll showcase some of the most addicting player versus environment games that you need to try. Starting off this list with Diablo IV. The Diablo series has long been considered a cornerstone of the open world genre, and while it has had its ups and downs, its impact is undeniable. With the release of Diablo IV, it's clear that the developers are committed to realizing the game's full potential. Despite some criticism, much like its predecessors, this installment offers an engaging experience. Personally, I've enjoyed my time with the game, even though I'm not deeply into optimizing stats and perfecting my build like many players. For me, the joy comes from exploring the vast world, discovering intriguing bits of lore, and crafting a character that's genuinely fun to play. If you've never dived into the Diablo universe before, Diablo IV is an excellent entry point for newcomers to action RPGs. The combat is top-notch, the campaign has its standout moments, and the systems are approachable without being overly complex. It's a perfect blend of accessibility and depth, making it a must-try for both veterans and newbies alike. Next up, we have Far Cry 5. One of the fantastic things about the Far Cry series is how each game has its own set of dedicated fan base who believe it's the best. That diversity of opinion is a testament to the series' broad appeal. Personally, Far Cry 5 stands out as one of my favorites, even if it's not universally considered the best. I find the antagonist compelling, despite the overall story not holding up to intense scrutiny compared to some other entries. The side characters are also a real highlight. Fun, well-rounded, and diverse. The American setting feels familiar, yet offers a unique, contrasting experience that feels like a strange adventure in your own backyard. In terms of mechanics, I think Far Cry 5 has the most refined and smooth gameplay of the franchise. Visually, it's stunning and incredibly immersive. It's the only game I can replay endlessly without getting bored. Sure, there are some downsides such as the map that feels a bit small and the main story is shorter than I'd like. However, the plethora of side missions makes up for these shortcomings. Far Cry 5 isn't perfect, but it handles many aspects admirably, and I've been pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoy it. I wouldn't say it's a must-buy at full price, but if it's been gathering dust in your game library, or you spot it on sale, it's definitely worth giving it a shot. Up next, we have Just Cause 3. The entire Just Cause series is a blast, but I've got to admit, the storylines have never been the main attraction. It's all about the freedom of gameplay and the immense scale of the maps. That being said, Just Cause 3 has arguably the most well-received story in the series, filled with humorous and lighthearted moments. Yes, it features violence and an evil dictator, but it never takes itself too seriously. Also, driving in each game of the franchise feels pretty similar, but Just Cause 3 nails the quintessential Just Cause formula. You conquer the map by blowing up and taking over each base, rather than the more mundane tasks of hacking terminals or standing in designated areas. If you have some extra cash, I highly recommend getting some of the DLCs, especially the Wingsuit DLC. It adds a whole new level of fun and makes the game even more worth your time. The wingsuit gives you the freedom to glide through the expansive environments. Just Cause 3 is all about creating chaos in the most entertaining way possible, and it truly shines in delivering that experience. Next is Days Gone. When it launched in 2019, it faced a lot of criticism and negative reviews. Admittedly, the game had its flaws, but the developers have addressed these issues, and I can assure you that Days Gone has evolved into one of the best open-world masterpieces of recent years, delivering on story quality, progression, and gameplay. The opening act might not immediately grab you, but once you've upgraded your bike and character stats, the game becomes a lot more engaging and rewarding. The undead, known as Freakers, are fast and relentless. Experimentation can be daunting, but the game's save feature will allow you to quick save at your bike or a bed. This feature will allow you to make a perfect plan on every approach that you make. The game is set in Oregon, which is fantastic, especially with a solid reshade mod setup on PC that makes nights darker and scarier. If you grab the PC version, mods can enhance the experience further, such as increasing the number of Freakers, which is incredibly fun. And the story isn't as bleak as some reviews suggest. There's humor, intrigue, and a lot to love about this game. While it might not blow your mind or impress every gamer, especially when compared to titles like Red Dead Redemption 2, it's a solid entry in the open-world zombie survival genre. If that's your thing, Days Gone is definitely worth your attention. Up next is PayDay 3. If you were a fan of the previous PayDay titles, chances are you'll find plenty to enjoy in this latest installment. The game boasts a total of 11 heists set in the bustling backdrop of New York City. These include 8 core heists, 2 legacy heists, and 1 heist in the Bad Apple campaign. Just like PayDay 2, more heists are expected to be added over time. Visually, the game has seen significant improvements, with more detailed environments and even more intense and realistic voiceovers. However, one aspect that might disappoint some players is the requirement for an internet connection. Unlike its predecessor, PayDay 3 demands a constant online connection to play. This could be a drawback for those with unreliable internet or who prefer offline gaming experiences. That being said, if you can overlook this requirement, PayDay 3 still offers a thrilling and action-packed experience. The heists are as adrenaline-fueled as ever, and the cooperative gameplay adds an extra layer of excitement. So, if you're craving some high-stakes heist action and have a stable internet connection, PayDay 3 is definitely worth checking out. But if not, then I also recommend PayDay 2. Up next, we have Lies of P. This game, released in 2023, is a hidden gem that deserves far more attention than it currently receives. Lies of P feels like a fusion of Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, and a touch of Sekiro, all wrapped up in a fascinating twist on the Pinocchio tale. While it does draw upon previous Soulsborne titles, it also introduces fresh ideas that keep players engaged. The setting and story are standout features, ranking among my favorites in the Souls-like genre to date. Few games, aside from Sekiro, managed to deliver such a compelling narrative through dialogue and cutscenes. The combat, areas, and bosses don't feel artificially difficult. Instead, they capture the rhythm and balance that From Software games are known for. The weapon and handle system is particularly innovative. Each weapon feels distinct, catering to different playstyles, and allowing players to experiment with unique combinations. Mixing and matching to find the most effective strategies adds an extra layer of enjoyment to the gameplay. Moreover, the music is also simply breathtaking. Discovering records throughout the game to unlock new songs is a rewarding experience in itself. If I were to rate Lies of P, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It's a fantastic game with a gripping story, immersive atmosphere, and captivating boss designs. If you're a fan of the Souls-like genre, this one is definitely worth checking out. Up next, we have Risk of Rain 2. This game thrives in its mystical ambiance, throwing you into a foreign, alien world that's beyond your comprehension. You catch glimpses of an outside world you can't hope to reach, creating an intense feeling of unrelenting flow and momentum. You start moving and keep moving, hoping to find answers or just a way out. Time is crucial in this world, affecting both the atmosphere and gameplay. Speaking of gameplay, it's excellent and on par with the game's other strengths. There are 11 classes, excluding the recent expansion. You begin with the default Survivor class, a solid starter that helps you get acquainted with the game. Unlocking other classes requires completing specific, often challenging tasks, and the same goes for secondary skills. This game is far from easy as it demands your full attention. Even a momentary lapse can lead to your demise. But this difficulty is part of what makes the game so engaging. It sinks you into its rhythm, demanding focus and quick reflexes. When you start, there are no stakes. But as your build develops, the stakes rise exponentially, culminating in a high-stakes endgame. The story is minimalistic, presenting a simple premise that unfolds as you unlock pieces of lore, such as character backstories. These elements hint at a broader world, leaving much to your imagination. This subtle storytelling works incredibly well, at least for me. If you love some challenging gameplay, then Risk of Rain 2 is a good option. Up next is Deep Rock Galactic. This game has become one of my top favorites over the past few years, with over 300 plus hours spent and 150 plus cosmetic items unlocked. The maps are randomly generated except for the weekly deep dives, which you can't access until you promote one of your classes. There's also a lot of unlockables, and each class plays a crucial role in the team dynamic. Scouts illuminate the caves with their flare guns, engineers and drillers modify the terrain, and gunners bring heavy firepower, bubble shields, and zip lines to traverse otherwise inaccessible areas. The game offers various difficulty levels, ranging from 1 to 5, with hazard level 3 providing a balanced experience of challenge and fun for new players. The biomes, missions, and cave varieties keep the gameplay fresh. You might start to recognize patterns in certain regions, but the wide array of unpredictable scenarios ensures you always need to play smart and adapt. One of the game's greatest strengths is its balance. Every class shines when played well. Plus, the weapons, especially with certain setups, are ridiculously fun to use. Overall, Deep Rock Galactic is an engaging and incredibly fun co-op game that offers endless hours of entertainment. Whether you're a veteran or a new player, it's a game that will keep you hooked with its dynamic gameplay and team-oriented challenges. Up next is Warhammer 40k Darktide. If you're a fan of 4-player co-op horde shooters like Deep Rock Galactic, you'll find Darktide's core gameplay loop to be excellent. The action is fast-paced and kinetic, with snappy controls and an unexpectedly deep melee system. The game captures the vibe and atmosphere of fighting within a hive city perfectly, balancing a sense of vastness with claustrophobic tension. It oozes Warhammer 40k charm from every Nurgle-infected pore, featuring some deep lore cuts that fans will appreciate, all accompanied by Jesper Kid's soundtrack, which is far more intense than you'd expect. That said, the game isn't without its flaws. Content delivery can be painfully slow, making the existing maps feel repetitive over time. While the monetization has improved since launch, it still leaves something to be desired. The RNG grind is real, and Fat Shark's communication with the community is historically poor. They often go through long stretches of radio silence, and their announcements about future announcements can be frustrating. Despite these issues, if you can handle the grind, Darktide offers a long-lasting, enjoyable experience. The game's strengths in atmosphere, combat, and co-op gameplay can keep you hooked for a long while. However, if you're the type of player who needs to optimize everything quickly, the slow content updates and heavy RNG might drive you up the wall. Next up is Streets of Rage 4. Streets of Rage 4 is the true definition of a beat-em-up game. The core gameplay and loop are definitely solid, and if you enjoyed the classic Streets of Rage, I'm pretty sure you'll love this game too. The graphics are stunning, with hand-drawn art that's simply gorgeous. Streets of Rage 4 features a roster of 21 playable characters, including 13 retro characters from previous titles. Each character plays very differently, requiring different tactics to play well. The game is packed with replay value. The more you play, the better you feel as you master each character and chase those elusive S ranks. There's also a survival mode that comes with the DLC, where you pick a character and try to survive as long as possible in randomly generated arenas. It's definitely one of the best beat-em-ups I've ever played, and honestly, one of the top games overall. If you're a fan of this genre or feeling a bit nostalgic for the classic 16-bit era, you absolutely shouldn't miss out on this gem. Next on the list is Furi. Boss fights are usually the highlights of every game, right? They're these epic showdowns that test your skills and make for some unforgettable moments. Well, Furi takes that concept and runs with it. Instead of padding the game with filler content, Furi cuts straight to the chase and focuses on boss battles. You step into the shoes of a mysterious swordsman trapped in a surreal prison above a planet, and your goal is to take down your captors to earn your freedom. There are 10 boss fights that you'll face in the game, and each one of them offers a mix of intense combat and jaw-dropping set pieces. Armed with a sword and a trusty gun, you'll need to master a diverse set of combat mechanics, including a unique parrying system. The vibrant, neon-soaked visuals and the pulsating synthwave soundtrack by renowned artists like Carpenter Brute and Danger only add to the game's electrifying atmosphere. The narrative, though minimalistic, adds an intriguing layer to the game. As you progress, you uncover snippets of the swordsman's past and the motivations of his captors. This narrative drive, combined with the relentless pace of the boss fights, creates a compelling experience that's hard to put down. So, if you're up for a challenge and love the thrill of intense boss fights, Furi is an experience you won't want to miss. Next up, we have Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, you know this game frequently makes an appearance. But, honestly, why not? The story of Red Dead Redemption 2 is undoubtedly one of the best in the entire history of gaming, at least for me. I first played it back in 2018 and was instantly hooked by its narrative. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you haven't played it yet, brace yourself for some heart-wrenching scenes. The game's attention to detail is just phenomenal. It's just a bit of a shame that we didn't get any DLC for this game. Despite that, Red Dead Redemption 2 still offers a wealth of content and new experiences, even to this day. The sheer amount of activities and the depth of the world keep it fresh and engaging. If you haven't experienced Arthur Morgan's journey yet, now is the perfect time to saddle up and dive into one of the greatest games ever made. Up next, we have Sea of Thieves. Now, I know there might be some debate about whether it's primarily a PvP or PvE game, but let me clear that up for you. It's actually a blend of both on a single server. However, for those who prefer a purely PvE experience, the developers recently introduced the Safer Seas mode, which is dedicated entirely to PvE. This new mode, launched last year, saw a surprising number of players migrating from the original server to enjoy a more peaceful experience. And let me tell you, if you're considering whether this game is worth it for PvE alone, the answer is a resounding yes. There's a ton of PvE content to dive into. Now, there are some tweaks and limitations in this mode, like reduced gold and reputation values, no emissaries, and a level cap of 40, but it still offers a rich experience as you and your crew embark on adventures for one of the game's main 3 companies. Sea of Thieves in its PvE mode is definitely worth checking out for a thrilling pirate experience. Next up is Gedonia. This game is a real gem from a solo developer. While its nature is a bit janky, Gedonia offers an incredibly fun and engaging experience. The game's graphics might not be cutting edge, but with a bit more polish, it could have been a true masterpiece. What really stands out is the sprawling map and the sheer amount of content available. The combat, while quirky, becomes quite enjoyable, especially when facing challenging enemies. One of the most exciting aspects of Gedonia is its future potential. With the success of this game, the developer has already hired a team and is currently working on Gedonia 2, which promises to be even better. If the sequel builds on the foundation of the original, we could be in for a real treat. A remastered version of Gedonia would be a dream come true for fans, but since Gedonia 2 is already in development, maybe there's a slim chance of getting a remaster. In the meantime, if you're looking for a unique open-world PvE experience, Gedonia is definitely worth a try. While it may lack the polish of some larger titles, its charm and the dedication of its creator truly make it a memorable adventure. And finally, to wrap up our list, we have Remnant II. Released just last year, this game has quickly become one of my top choices for third-person shooter action, highly recommended in this lineup. There are numerous aspects to appreciate about this title. The game features some of the most impressive secrets and puzzles I've ever come across in a non-puzzle focused game. Boss battles are a significant improvement from its predecessor. The majority of bosses are exceptionally well designed, with most falling into the category of good, and only a handful could be considered subpar. The game also boasts an extensive array of items, including over 80 unique weapons, a lot of rings, and 11 classes. Furthermore, for the explorers among us, this game offers substantial rewards for thorough exploration. Notably, the game's visual style has undergone a significant transformation from its predecessor, embracing a pseudo-realistic aesthetic that I find particularly appealing. However, despite my fondness for numerous aspects of the game, I did find the storyline somewhat lackluster. In my view, it's somewhat convoluted and challenging to follow. While there's plenty of intriguing lore to uncover, the narrative delivery leaves something to be desired. Nevertheless, I still wholeheartedly encourage you to give Remnant II a try. Its strengths far outweigh its flaws, and the sheer depth of its gameplay experience is truly remarkable. And that's it. If you've managed to reach this part of the video, I really want to hear from you. Which of these games have you already tried? Also, if you have any recommendations for great PvE games that didn't make our list, drop them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed watching this video, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.